what's funny is I remember telling my mom at some point in SS2 that, I think I want to study mass comm. And she's like, that means we'll have to stop paying your school fees now.
Ona, oh my God. Jesus, let me tell you something. Yeah. Oh God.
More than anything, it feels like I'm denying myself the life that I've always wanted to live. But the thing is, the way my life has been set up, God has constantly brought me far.
Yeah.
That like, there's more than enough to hold on to that says like, He'll keep me going.
Action. Welcome to another episode of Let's Have Drinks. Today I have Ona Akinde.
But it's me.
Welcome.
I'm sorry.
Feeling shy? Thanks for coming today. I'm so happy you're here. Actually, funny thing is that you're the reason why I decided to start this Let's Have Drinks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I just always wanted to have drinks with you. But
please,
I'm serious.
I have a reputation of being somebody who likes alcohol for no
Really?
reason. Yes, like
I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I saw that you were coming over, so I brought this bottle of wine. Why is that my rep on the street?
But it was this thing where, like, I really wanted to talk to you about some things at a point in my life, like maybe 3 or so years ago, and I just didn't know how to approach her. I was just like, I wish I could have drinks with this girl, and then it was a thing where I'm like, I want to have conversations with you, so let me start having conversations with people, and just the whole idea of this thing just started.
Really, because
of
the
you.
sweetest thing. Thank you for telling me.
Like, it's crazy. And I'm happy that you're here, actually, and we're having drinks. Today we're having a blackberry blueberry martini.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What's
It
weird?
tastes like, you know when your parents like give you Ribena, but like, it's so sweet.
So it tastes like watered down Ribena.
What's an Ribena? Yeah.
Something I actually miss berry wise, like that I really want right now is Berry Blast. I've not had Berry Blast in like 6 months, and that is weird because I used to have Berry Blast in my freezer.
But
That's
like,
the
I feel
point.
like it tastes like very hard to replicate.
Berry Blast,
Yeah, even with like, cause you can like you have other berry drinks and it just doesn't match.
Yeah. What will you rate it?
Probably rated like
Out of 5?
out of 5. Obviously, like a 2.5.
Oh my! We've not had like a 4/5 drink. We've not had a 4/5 drink on this show.
It's like a 3.
I'll give it a 3. One day we'll have a 4/5 drink at least.
So.
So let's start with like how we met and started talking, or did we even really meet?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like we didn't really meet. Like we knew of each other, and then we now happen to be following each other. On
Oh no, that's not how it's happened.
please, Miracle, take over the.
Let me tell you what happened. So we were in Unilag. You were a year above me. I think I was in 300
Oh my
level.
god, yeah.
I was in 300 level, we were in 400, and we were doing the same elective called Gender and the Law because, we love women and,
Women's rights.
Yeah. So what happened was, I remember you coming for a class. I don't even know if it was the first class or second. I feel like you even come for the first class. So let's say the second class. And we're in that tiny room in the main faculty of law.
Yeah, I think it was either like an LLM or one of
You
those.
remember the name?
One of the classes downstairs.
Yeah, one of those classes downstairs. And I remember you entering the class with your friend. And I just said, this girl is not supposed to be Unilag. I'm like, you don't have the face for the struggle. I found a fellow person that I knew that this person was just not supposed to be in this school. And that is how I noticed you. And because I sat at the back and you came into like the second door, you always sit at the back. So I just always like glance at you and be like, intrigued.
You used to feel like, I think year 4 was peak, like I really don't want to be here for me. So maybe that's why it was really showing. on my
Yeah,
face.
so like we didn't talk throughout Unilag, and what I remember is that randomly I saw that you followed my Finsta. My Finsta is not public. And I
I
just
don't
like,
even know how I came
how?
across your
That's the
Finsta.
thing. I'm just like, I don't know how this babe found my Finsta. You didn't follow my main Miyojua account, which follow Miyojua. I don't post yet, but one day
Yeah,
I will post and you
solid
will love
stuff.
it.
Promising.
Even the things that are there,
Yeah.
amazing. And so you followed me on my Finsta. I was just like, how does this girl find me? immediately followed back. I accepted. I said, yes, this babe that I wanted to talk to. But I don't remember our first conversation. I don't maybe it was something.
I think like our first conversation that I remember clearly was the law school one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you reached out to me to say how like I didn't go to law school and then you didn't want to go. And then we talked about it.
Are you sure it wasn't one of those outfits you wore?
I mean, it could possibly be that, but
I feel like it was some like when you wear things like the way you patronize African and Nigerian designers is the reason why I actually started, because I'll see something on me, I'm just like, oh, this is very nice, so where did you get it from? And then I would get it also. I feel like it's the dress that started the conversation.
That's very possible as well. I would think I was like heavy in my Nigerian ready to wear bag until
Until it became...
Yeah, I said no more.
I've always been intrigued about your childhood
Okay.
because
Well,
yeah, because like you're really close to your sisters, and anyone who knows you, they know your sisters. Even if they don't know their names, they know like they exist
yeah.
and their faces. So how was your childhood like with your family and like maybe with school and any other thing that you were interested in?
Yeah, I feel like it's really interesting that people know me and my sisters now. Like, they know us
You
together.
guys are an ecosystem.
But it's funny because it wasn't always like this. Quite frankly, I feel like I did not become friends with my sisters until I was an adult, so like much later. So growing up, I'd say it was pretty socially lonely. I was last child. Age gap. Yeah. Last child, there's a bit of an age gap between me and my sister. The closest
What's the
person
age
to me,
gap?
6 and 5 years. The closest person to me was my brother. There was like a 3-year gap between both of us. And so it was more like me and him, and then my sisters. And we're really not in the same phase of life. I was in primary 1, GS1, GS2. So like that, there was just like a huge gap. And so initially it was me and my brother, but then you know how boys get to that age where like playing with their sister a bit. So it was like...
Well, actually, I don't know because...
But I felt like my brother got to that stage where like it made more sense to not play with me as much.
Yeah.
So for the rest of my childhood, it was mostly just me and my imaginary friends and a lot of writing. And I started keeping journals really early. I used to write a lot about like my days. I used to write to my imaginary friends, quote unquote, and then I thought that my toys used to come alive at night.
At night?
At noon, 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock they would like come to life. So I think that's what it was. I was really good at school, and I guess maybe I felt like it was one of the only things that I was particularly good at. So I just focused on school, and so that was it. It was lots of school, it was lots of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of...
What book do you remember from your childhood?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. So you see, and M. Martin had like the Babysitter's Club as a series.
You know, I've never read that.
So I was a collector. I probably had like almost every like book until the 100th book, and then I had the specials. Then I was also like a big enlightening reader. And then I think there was Goosebumps as well. I really didn't get into African literature until secondary school.
That is so different from me.
So yeah.
What are those books that we used to exchange in secondary school? We didn't go to safe secondary school, but is it Jacqueline?
So it was called Harley Quinn or like Meals and Bones, those ones.
There's a particular author, Jacqueline something.
God,
Jacqueline Wilson.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh yeah.
I got in trouble because of that. I think there was one, and I brought one home, and I said my mother must not say this thing. I had to wrap it in brown, that wrapping thing that people use, because it's either she sees that book and sees it and comes to my school to be like, oh, is this what people are doing in this Catholic all-girls school?
I think in secondary school I finally got into African literature, and I remember when Americana came out, and Americana had like vivid sex scenes.
Yeah.
So, and then there was like a roster to read it, and so it was my turn, but I was thinking, how am I going to take this book time with the vivid sex scenes? So I take it home, my mom's like, oh, Americana, and then obviously Chimamanda, like, Chimamanda, I need to read this book. I was like, nope, you don't need to read this book. You really don't need to read this book. And then I read it very quickly and read. I'm like, you're not slightly back.
When did your sister start getting close to you?
So I'd say it started with my second sister first. I just think that as we were growing up, and then it got to this part where I was finishing up secondary school and then getting into university, and she was just around a lot more, I believe. We started going to the same church. Like we left our parents' church, and so like I would go to church with her on Sundays, and then she would sort of talk to me like an adult, as a child, as she would involve me in things where it made me feel like she was my friend, not just my sister. And then so that continued, and in COVID, we spent a lot of time together. We used to go on all these walks together. And then after COVID, we now live together for a year. So it just brought us even much closer. With my sister, my first sister, is I say all the time, but we did not get close until she left the country. It was like distance made our hearts grow fonder. It wasn't like we were in each other's absence. We just continue to bond. And then she had her baby, and I came to see her, and I feel like something changed. Like it altered the chemistry of our relationship.
That's like
After
very
she had her
recent.
baby. Yes, exactly. And then since then, it has become much harder to exist without them being in my life the way that they are. I really wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I don't even remember I remember what it was like before, and I don't want to go back there. So I'm very happy to be in this place, and I know that like it's just like only better from here.
How was from secondary school you entered Unilag? Did you always know that you wanted to do law? Or were you like me and did law because there was nothing else to do?
Absolutely, I was like you. That's like the summary of it. I was in art class, but I was also like a fantastic art student. So we're talking like best overall art student, like across like the 3 years I was in like secondary school. So my parents were just, and mind you, I had run away from science class because I knew that if I'm in science class, it would either be doctor, engineer, or architects, and I felt like I wasn't caught out of that. So I went to art class as a way to escape. But then my parents only thought there was only one thing you could possibly do.
Be a lawyer.
Be a lawyer, exactly. And it didn't help that I already read a lot and I taught a lot.
See, that's the
So
problem.
exactly.
They think that when you read a lot and talk a lot,
then
you should be a lawyer. Okay, why can't I be a newscaster?
yeah, because what's funny is I remember telling my mom at some point in SS2 that, I think I want to study mass comm. And she's like, that means we'll have to stop paying your school fees now.
Ona, oh my God. Jesus, let me tell you something. You know, oh God. There was this thing that happened when I was in A-levels.
Yeah.
I loved business studies. It was like I excelled in business studies. So I'm so triggered. So I told my mom, like one day I was back from like first half of the first year of A-levels, that I'm really enjoying business studies. Like I'm doing so well in it. Maybe I should consider a career in business, like instead of doing law. And I was like, caveat emptor, don't tell daddy.
True.
Do you know who told daddy?
Of course.
My mommy.
Daddy, yeah.
So he called me to the room and was like, oh, you don't want to do law? Perhaps you should not go back to A-level. Go and get jam form. And I spent that entire weekend sobbing because I really liked being in A-levels and I didn't care what I was doing. I just wanted to, again, go abroad. But you see what happened at the end of the day? I was in Unilag. And I was just like, you know what? Even if you want me to read law, if you want me to study law, I will study law. And I think that experience was so traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like, why would they do that? Be like, oh, sis, you don't want to do what...
Yeah, she said it so casually. Like, she didn't have somebody say something without, like, skipping a bit. Like, this is the only course of action. It's either you do or you don't do law. And so that was it. And it also did not help that I didn't struggle. So I passed JAMB. I passed for CME. I said, I bought diploma for my didn't write the exam because I was like, what's the point? And then, like, I got in. They didn't, literally, it was like a very smooth.
Like, is that those people your name was just on the list?
My name was, when they brought out the list, my name was there. And so my parents are even more convinced that, like, I was supposed to be doing this thing. And me, I was just like, yeah, you know what? It's what it is.
My parents got their own conviction about me doing law when I was like, is it 10? I was in church. We're doing church presentation for children something, and I came to church and like they just put one lawyer gap on me, and my parents saw the vision and they're like, this is what she's going to do. But that entire thing of going to study a course or pursuing a career path because your parents want you to do it, kind of, I find it so strange, because it's like you see your child like as an extension of yourself or fulfilling dreams that you had. I don't know if my parents had law dreams. There's no lawyer in my family, so I don't even know why they were very insistent on me studying law.
I think the closest thing for me, like that I had, that my mom's man, the first like got married and I was in Lagos. Her husband used to be away. Yeah, so when she had her children, she would get like really bored, and so she would just walk down to, there was a court in the neighborhood. she would walk down to the court and I just sit down in the audience, so like in the court,
And be listening
to court cases. And she just thought that like lawyers were so eloquent.
I mean,
And and I think that's like, my mom always told me that story and how like, oh yeah, so for her, so it's something that she thought about, but she ended up not pursuing. She ended up studying nursing and midwifery. So I'm like, why am I the one that has to carry on this? Why? But then that was it. Like, and then it happened, and I found myself in year one in Unilag.
so how was like the whole process of being in Unilag and knowing that this is not really what you want to do at the back of your mind, but doing it anyway? Because if you don't do it, you won't really have any support, financially or otherwise.
I think for me, it's what's so crazy about my story is that in year one, I knew that I didn't study law. As in, by year one, before year one even finished, I knew. So like, I knew pretty early. But then everybody's thing was, oh, you're just starting. You know how you like year one, you don't do any law courses.
I don't know. I didn't do year one.
I'm so sorry.
I came in.
I'm so sorry.
Direct entry.
I
Year
almost
two,
forgot.
baby.
But then year one, you don't do any law courses at all. So it was like all the ENGs and GSTs and computer science and whatever. And so that's what I was doing. But like, I had such a strength. I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, you're just starting. You know what? Just power through. Like, at least do year two. And then maybe your mind will change. I'm happy to announce that my mind never changed. More than anything, like, it became clearer and clearer. See, in year two, I would intern at a publishing house. And, like, that's probably one of the... Like, I can call it I've had very strong convictions in my life. And then that internship, it changed the entire trajectory for me as well, like, how I felt. And so it continued year two, year three. I still knew that I really didn't want to be a lawyer. And then obviously I was scared. And I can remember telling myself, you know what, like, just power through. You're almost done. And so obviously the thing is, you do 5 years and then you go to law school. And so I remember telling myself, okay, yeah, it's just like, okay, 2 more years and then you go to law school. But then by year 4, I was like, I actually don't want to go to law school. Yeah, like, I really don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. I've done this. I'm going to this thing for 5 years. I don't want to make that 6.
It's not 5 years. Then 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then I don't want to make that 6. I don't want to make it an extra year of doing something like I don't want to do. But year 4 was when, like, I really came into the year. Once year 5 is done, I'm out of here. And I remember in year 4, I had gone to my mom's office one day, and like, she was just talking. We're just talking about how she can't for me to graduate and then go to law school. Oh, my course about ceremony. And I just started crying. I'm like, please, I even want to drop out from now. Like, please, I'm not doing it. I'm just thinking, okay, like, none of this is going to happen, right? And even now, I feel so miserable. I started crying, like, yeah, quite frankly, I don't even know that I want to go back. I think maybe we should just be going from here. I said, no, please. First of all, just finish. By the time we finish, we'll have some clarity. We'll think about, like, what to do. But I think in her mind, she still thought that, like, I would change my mind. But yeah, 4 set the tone for me to just, I'm not going to go to law school after I finish this. I just need to finish this.
So when successfully you did not drop out and you finished it, what was the conversation like when you were like, oh, mom, dad, all concerned stakeholders, I am not doing this law school thing?
I don't know why nobody was taking me seriously. It's the funniest thing. People, like, you tell people that you made up your mind about something and everybody's so convinced that you changed your mind. And like, why do you think I would change my mind? So by year 5, like, year 5 started and I knew that at the end of year 5, I literally wasn't going to do anything. Like, law school, anything that was past leaving the faculty, I wasn't going to do that. I started thinking about what I wanted to do after I finished. And then in praying, I remember telling God that if I'm not supposed to go to law school, I need to know what I'm doing before I finish year 5. I had a couple of ideas and I had a couple of options, but I remember thinking, like, I needed to be clear and unequivocal. So the final year exams were in October, and then by September 30th, it had become clear what I was supposed to do. And for me, there's this thing where there are very few decisions that I've made where I did not particularly feel ease, but when I made that decision, I cannot describe the amount of ease and relief that I felt. As a person, I was just like, yeah, this is probably like the most at ease I've felt in the last 5 years about anything. And so I was sure, I had made up my mind and I knew that this is what I was going to do. And so I told my sister, my second sister I'm closer to, I told her, and she was more like, okay, yeah, let's just see. So there was no strong conviction on her part. And then I started telling, like, my brother, my other sister, and then my parents. I told my mom first, and I was like, okay, I don't think you should tell my dad. I want to have a conversation with both of you. And she does exactly what your mom does. She goes to tell my dad. ahead of me. And
Spouses.
he goes with my dad ahead of me, and she texts me, say, well, I've told your dad and he doesn't understand what it is that you said you want to do. Well, let's have the conversation when you come home. I'm like, okay.
Why did you tell him?
Why did you tell him if we're going to have a conversation? And then so as I'm finishing year 5, I have a conversation with my parents, and I told them, okay, I'm rounding up school. I'm not going to law school. And that's probably one of the most hurtful conversations I've ever had with my parents. It did not go down well at all. It became clear that I did not have any support whatsoever. So emotionally, financially, it was as you decided to do this thing, ego be.
Go and live life.
Exactly. So that was literally the vibe not even the vibe, that was the giving that existed. It was clear that I was incredibly unsupported in the decision I was about to make. Almost to the line of, you will regret this type of situation. And of course, that was very scary for me, but the fear disappeared, because I'm I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And my sister, who I thought was leaning towards, she's like, I've been talking to some people, people who they study law but they're not doing anything else. Everybody went to law school, so they just did the 1 year. And then after, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just 1 year. And that's when I kept hearing so much. It's just 1 year. It's just 1 year.
This is so annoying.
Yeah,
because a lot can change in
the
1 year. I
Thank
can
you.
do what I like in that 1 year.
Yes, everybody saying it's just 1 year. In my mind, it wasn't just 1 year. It was about to become 6 years of doing the wrong thing. And I remember around the time when I was thinking about how best to express myself, I came across this article that a former Macy had written about doctors or people who are now doing things that they didn't study. And there was this analogy about how, if you imagine that you're going to Phase 1, for example, and instead of going the right way on Terminal Bridge, you find out that you're going towards Ikeja. So now Ikeja is now 30 minutes away, and Phase 1 is 2 hours, 30 minutes away. Will you just go to Ikeja because it's closer, or will you go back to Phase 1, which is where you want to go? And for me, it made so much sense. It was I understand that it's just 1 year to you people, just 1 year of just suck it up. For me, it was I've been miserable for 5 years. You're asking me to make it 6. And what's so crazy is that the year of my law school was 2020. It was COVID year. So you people that said it was just 1 year, can you see that it was not just 1 year. And so that was it. I did not have, it was not a decision that came easy at all. The most support I had was from myself, and then from my friend who knew that this is what it was going to be. But I know I faced a lot of resistance, and for years my parents wouldn't be able to refer to me as any other thing other than a barrister, or I'm I'm not a lawyer. So yeah.
Wow. On my end, it's the fact that you made that decision and decided to share it that made me realize that, wait, you can decide not to go to law school. I didn't even know it was a thing that was possible, and you doing that opened up that possibility for me. And I started thinking about it. Now, also, I knew that I didn't want to be a lawyer even before I entered. I entered at a law firm. And I was like, this cannot be my life. But I'm just going here because I don't want to stay at home. And generally, I didn't even know what else to do.
Yeah.
So might as well just go to uni and use that period in uni to figure out my life. Because at that point, I still had a safety net of my parents are still covering my needs and everything. And so during that entire time, I worked at a magazine, my photography thing. I just did a bunch of things in media because I thought that was where I wanted to be. And then I realized that I wasn't really getting that fulfillment. And then COVID happened, and my mom was like, oh, what do you want to do? By the way, they wanted me to be a lawyer, but I said, I don't know what I want to do in my life. Tell me to fast and pray. I did not fast. Did I pray? I don't know. My relationship with God that time was very, very shaky. But there was this thing I used to do because I really liked fashion, still do. But I liked the business of fashion. So I used to go to businessoffashion.com. And then I would go, I didn't even know of LinkedIn. I used to go to businessoffashion.com, their job sites, to see what skills people were asking for. And part of it was design. So I put a bunch of things. There was project management. I still have the notes on my phone actually. And UI UX design, and I forgot about it. And then that December, I was having a conversation with my friends over at dinner, and then Barack had said, oh yeah, do design. And then I started doing that at the final year, because I needed to find what I wanted to do in my life by final year. Because if I left that Unilag without knowing what I wanted to do in my life, I would be so miserable.
Yeah.
And then the thing about law school is, I don't even know if I was really looking forward to it. I didn't want to go, but at the same time, I just did not know. Like, I just studied design and everything. And then, lucky or unlucky, it depends on how you see it. But lucky for me, my name did not come out for law school. My name did not come out for NYSC. Unilag did not send my results to the appropriate department. That 1 year changed the trajectory of my career. And then from the next year where law school was supposed to start was when I got my first full-time international job. And then after that, going to work for fintechs. So it's like that 1 year that I think it's just 1 year. You don't know, a lot can happen in 1 year. And then the conversation of, okay, why will you now go to law school?
So mind you, for some context as well, I was working throughout university because that's how desperate I was.
Oh my God, twins.
Yeah, that's how desperate I was to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I know I don't want to do this thing. I have ideas of what I want to do. I quite frankly love writing and editing, but then I was also exploring other things. I was exploring comms, I was exploring like project management and things like that. But that's how like deep it was for me to figure out a path outside of law. Because everybody always used to come up with these imaginary scenarios. And they'll be like, you don't know now.
You don't know what you need for
exactly.
your future.
You can go for a job and they'll just be like, no law school, nothing. I'm like, why would I go for a job that would need me to do law school?
Exactly.
It just doesn't align. And I found it so funny that I've done all this work. I didn't go on any holidays. During strikes, I was working. I basically didn't have any break like that in like 5 years. And so you think I've done all of this to still be aspiring for the thing that like I really don't want? Please make it make sense.
You know, the funny thing is, when I was thinking about not pursuing law, one of my biggest fears was not having like the financial backup. My parents caught me up financially because it was obvious, if you don't do what you want me to do, we're not going to pay for it. I remember when I came to them when I was like in my photography bag and I wanted to do like a master's in photography or something like that, and I told them about it and they were like, okay, we're going to do master's in photography. I was like, yeah, he told me that, after undergrad I'll go abroad for my master's. Like, yeah, well, it's supposed to be master's in law. You know, that day I cried so much to like start figuring out that, Miracle, you have to start making your money. Like, you have to not be scared of being an adult.
Yeah. I think for me, I think when I had looked at what's the worst that could happen, being cut off financially was high up there.
Yeah.
And so when that immediately happened, I was like, okay, like, okay, now let's fucking go. Like, yeah, because what am I going to do? I knew I wasn't. I'm like, okay, it has happened. Yeah, then that's fine.
Personally, for me, it was great. It was great that I had like some sort of backup in my sister, living with her, and I mean, when I was earning 40K,
girl,
it was hard. It was so hard.
For me, things that helped was like that my first share of working post like going to law school. COVID happened, so a lot of us were inside, and then I had started a skincare business that was the
you had a skincare business.
It did so well that year. I was like, business plus remote employment plus COVID. Yeah.
So during this time, I was like, we're not going to law school. Were you still living with your parents, or you're still living with your sister?
Yeah, so I was living with my parents because 2020 COVID happened.
Okay.
Then, so we're all. I moved back home to stay with my parents, and I think like first time I had stayed with them long term in 5 years. I moved back home to stay with them, and I think that helped us. So at least I wasn't paying rent, but every other thing.
So when did you start staying with your sister?
I moved in with my sister towards the end of 2020, like October 2020.
Was this a discussion you had with your parents, or you're moving your sister?
I was very desperate to leave the house because that's the thing. I think this was the longest I had lived with them, and then I just like there was a strong sense of independence that had started coming up, and I'd had it for quite some time. When I was I was in a private hostel, so I didn't have to go home during the breaks. Like, so it was just I wasn't particularly living at home. And so after COVID, my sister was like, oh yeah, she's moving. My sister's a doctor, so she was moving into Luth. Like, I've seen my outlets. I know they won't let me move out on my own, but if I'm living with Dum, yeah, that helps.
I mean, sisters giving you out.
So my sister gave me a fantastic
to live your independent life.
It was like I was living with my sister. My mom worked in Luth, so if she wanted to, I would still see her during the week.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like I had years old. I lived with her up until like she got married in I saw the end of 2021. On 2021 we came because she was going to get married next year. So I started working to move out on my own in 2022.
When did you realize in all of this that I need to stop asking for permission? I just needed to live.
Right. I think I would say like I've definitely had like my fair share of being a people pleaser. when you're a really good child, there's like the expectation to do really well.
Yeah.
Across, and not just do well, but do what your parents want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a child who did not used to give my parents like any trouble. So I had a track record of being a really good, I would do what my parents want me to do type. And I think type of situation. I think that was the thing that burdened me the most. It felt like I was denying my parents of something that they genuinely wanted, and it wasn't something that I had particularly done before. But at the same time, I'm like, it's also my life that's on the line here. Like, more than anything, it feels like I'm denying myself the life that I've always wanted to live. I'm like, this is too much of an expense to make. And so I think something really shifted in me in year 5. By the time I told my parents, and then like I saw how they had reacted, and over the next year, we were like still living at home and navigating this new role and my relationship with them, and just seeing things change, seeing how they reacted to things, it became clear that I wasn't really going to ask anymore. So it's a lot of things. Like, my parents hated the idea of moving out by myself, so it was like, oh, it shouldn't happen. I say, oh man, you go, like, just
You go when you marry.
go when you marry and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I said that I needed to move in 2022 and I was going to move out by myself, I didn't ask. I just said, oh, by the way, I'm moving out. So as I didn't like, I'm moving out of Greece and I'm moving to the island, and I need to be closer to work. And I would say that it definitely helps when you are doing things and like you don't need them financially. So you're not asking them for money. You're not asking them to pay for anything or cover anything. You're just, I think that definitely helped. That did like had to make some decisions. So yeah, I think it was like year 5, and then over COVID, and then as I started growing even more, it just became clear that I have to fight for the life that I want.
So the job you were doing was you were writing?
So no, after the job that I started doing when I left university, like before I left university, it was a social media management role. It was sort of like in line with the industry that I saw myself in long term.
Industries
So that's like writing, creative writing,
Okay.
publishing and stuff. So it was in that line, but then very quickly the role transitioned into an executive assistant role. And then an operations role, all of which generally has worked with what skills I was building for myself already. I was already quite good at admin and comms. I was already quite good at like getting things done, like figuring things out. Don't worry, I'll be there. And so it has been a fantastic role to grow in. Like, I've seen so much growth to the person that I am, and it has fulfilled many, many, many needs and like purpose that I knew that I wouldn't have found.
So how does writing come into the mix? Like, when did you start writing to like share like your medium and getting published and all of that? What was that journey like?
So I will say something. I've embodied all the writer cliches. Unfortunately, I kept journals as a child and as a teenager. I wanted to have published a novel by 18, a youngest writer.
Where did you publish?
No, I did not. I wanted that, but then at 16 I opened a WordPress and I used to publish stories weekly or like almost every 2 weeks on my WordPress. That was where I started publishing personally. That's like my clearest memory of publishing personally. And so I did that. I had my WordPress. I would write. They were very like raw, vulnerable, like patchy. But then I was writing and I was getting the work out there. And so I did that. And then in year 1, I started working for a magazine. I was writing for them as well. So that was when, and things that helped with that role was like my having a blog already. And then in year 2, I would randomly like be driving through Alagomiji and I'd realize that Farafina Kachifo, which is like one of the leading independent published houses in Nigeria was. And I'm like, it'd be nice to work in this place. I wouldn't mind that. And then like I get home and I'm on a group chat, and okay, so mind you, I had also joined like Arts in Africa, which was like a writing collective of young writers, and it was through my blog like that they had the person who was running, one of the people running this opera had found my writing. And so I used to write for Arts in Africa. I was part of like a writing collective. We're just like young writers bursting with energy and like creative ideas. And so there was a group chat, and they had put on the group chat that they were like a publishing house was looking for somebody to help them digitize their physical magazines. It wouldn't pay, but there was a stipend. Turned out it was at Farafina, right? And then I interned. Part of what helped me get the job was also my blog and the stories that I was writing. And so I interned at Farafina, and I had a fantastic manager, who has studied engineering, and I found that I was like, what do you mean you studied engineering and like you're an editor? I found it so deeply moving, and then everybody was so kind and so I felt very seen. It felt like there's me who did not know what like I could do with my writing or what that looked like, and I think that really opened my eyes. That whole experience. So I would continue to intern with them. I would work with them independently as like an independent contractor. I would figure out like more ways to write. I really like my writing would continue to grow, and then law would sort of take that away from me because I was fighting for my life.
Yeah.
While studying law. And like it really like a reading experience for me, so I wasn't reading as much. I wasn't writing as much. I was struggling as a person, and initially like I used to write even as an outlet, but by like year 5 I couldn't even like I was so like I don't know that I have anything to say. I really don't know. And then life would now be life even after like I left Unilag, and yeah, my writing would take the back burner. I wouldn't be doing the writing that like I genuinely wanted to do. I'd be doing writing, but like it wasn't where I had sort of seen my writing goal. And then all of that would change in like 2022.
So what was the writing you wanted to do?
I always wanted to tell stories, and like that's the summary of it. I wanted to tell like fun, sad, happy, everyday stories that had like the Nigerian African at the center of it. I've always wanted to be around words. So if I wasn't telling them the stories, I was editing the stories. If I wasn't editing, I was in the process of making it happen. I always wanted to have like fantastic stories into the world. I want to be in that process. And so that's what I've always envisioned. And so when I was leaving Unilag, I had written down like what I wanted like my life outside of Unilag. Once I left year 5, what I wanted that to look like. And like one of the first things I wrote was like I wanted to get an MFA in creative writing by 2021. A girl can dream.
Well, I mean, it's not bad to dream.
And then that wouldn't happen.
Before we get to MFA process,
yeah.
As a writer or as a creative person, because also I did dabble into writing.
Come on, a woman of the arts.
Dabbling. Yeah. There's so many things that you face and encounter, from imposter syndrome, creative blocks, rejection, all of that. So how has that journey been, navigating all those blocks?
Yeah, I've seen not one, not 3, but thousands. Oh no, my writing as a writer. I'm definitely, if I want to start from the top, imposter syndrome has had me in a chokehold. I think people always say like the thing that defines a writer is that like, oh, at least you're writing. Yeah, like well, what's your writing? If you're writing, you're a writer. Like a writer is constantly writing, and there was not writing. And so that was where like the first feeling inadequate started from. It's like you can't say you want to be doing this thing, and like this is how you are, this is your relationship with it. And it wasn't that I did not want to write, I quite frankly just couldn't write because the way life was happening to me, like the creative faculty that existed to write the stories that I really wanted to put out, it was not working out. It just wasn't happening. So I struggled with imposter syndrome. I remember like at some point in like maybe year 5, the book club would ask me to take a class on writing, and like I had to basically talk the book club members through writing. I remember feeling so inadequate. I'm like, what do you mean? You've been editing and writing at this point for like almost three years, like this is, your stuff, right? So why do you feel so inadequate? And it would continue for years, where the less that I wrote, the more that I struggled to write, the more that I struggled to put out work. I wouldn't be publishing as much anymore, barely publishing. There was the constant rejections from submissions, like, work would keep getting rejected. And then when school applications would start as well, there was like a whole year of an abundance of rejection. And it did like how it affected me deeply in like, maybe I'm just not good enough. Cut out for it. Exactly, I'm just not cut out for it.
So when did you realize that you read the shit and you were actually cut out for it?
Is realizing that I could not envision a life where I wasn't writing. It did not matter. Like, I know people have like 5-year plans. I have it. I don't have like a definite like, okay, this is where I'm. But then every time I thought about how I wanted to feel and what I wanted to be doing, at least writing always came up. I've just not been able to do away with the idea of writing, like in my life. words have saved me many times, and I know that they will continue to save me. And I've always hoped that my words, I think that words do for me. I hope that even if it's one person, like, it can do it for them. And even if it's just me that the writing is saving, like, that's fine. And so I had to come to that place where, like, this is the one thing that, like, I've known for, I've known that I really wanted to do. So I couldn't give up, and I had to fight through all the books to get to this place.
I have a very funny relationship with rejection. I feel like I have looked rejection in the eye many times and just fallen. Really, it's not like I ever stood up.
It's just like
there's this thing where, you know, when you want something or you're trying to get something, and you say, "Oh, let me go to God and pray," and it just feels like God has beef with you.
Yes.
Like, do you hear me?
I know. I've definitely, God, I know that you know the kind of question I've asked you before, but then yes, the human nature. There are some things that I've said, God, like, if you were in my shoes, would you this thing, you know, this thing that's happening now. Like, what do you think? Like, balance me.
When you feel like God isn't hearing you, your prayers aren't answered, what do you think helped you push on in even the place of prayer and asking and just hoping and trusting?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question. And not in the, you know how people like, I don't have an answer, so that's a really good question. But no, I think that something that helped was realizing that God has been consistently faithful. And my path has never been straight. It has never been clear cut. I don't think I've particularly had things come easy to me. Same. Almost everything that I have now, I've had to fight, and like, it was through God's grace. And so, even through the times when I was particularly at my lowest, or when things had gone to absolute shit, and when things were not working out at all, I could still see God's hand in the gentlest of ways. Like, one time, for example, I was going through so much, and I'm like, man, I really wish I could get a hug right now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, the funny things that there were times that I would pray that, God, I wish I could feel you like a hug.
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted a hug from God.
And then, you know, I remember one, like, I was sitting, and I was just like, there was like in a place of prayer where the tears were deep. Like, someone just walks up to me and said, I just feel God telling me to hug you. And so it was a hug, right? But at the same time, it was something like I truly needed. Nothing else like particularly changed. The situation did not change. Things were still quite bad. But then they have been constant reminders that like God is with me. And this is not to say like I don't sink into despair. Sink into like disbelief. I have a hard time believing sometimes. I have a hard time seeing the lights. Like I literally don't know how I'm going to get out of this. But the thing is, the way my life has been set up, God has constantly brought me far. Yeah. That like there's more than enough to hold on to that says like He will keep me going. And it might not look like how I want it to look like. I think that's the thing. I've come to a place of acceptance many times. Yeah. It might not look like what I want it to look like. I might not understand it. Sometimes I might actually never people will be like, okay, you look back. Okay, I've looked back.
It does not still make sense.
It still doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, that's unfortunately that's what it is, right? But I can still see that, like, I'm still here. I'm still okay. I'm going. Like, sometimes I'm sad, but there are pockets of joy. Sometimes like there are many rejections, but there's that one acceptance.
The funny thing is that when that acceptance comes, it cancels all of the rejections.
Exactly. So it's like I've seen that happen before. I'm sure I will see it happen again. It's a lot of holding on. Yeah, you just have to try. Yeah, you know?
So your MFA, that is, you're starting very soon.
I'm shy.
Your MFA is in creative writing?
Yes, it is. And it's on the fiction track.
How much of your life influences the work you write?
Right now? Generally. I think it's like a fair mix. Sometimes when I obviously have to write about things that I've never experienced before, but I want to write about. But there are also times when I often draw into themes or like things that have happened in my life, like into that, and then I fictionalize it. I've never been really able to write like non-fiction because I felt like it was too like honest and vulnerable. So I'm like, I should tweet for the whole world. No, wait. But I realized that like creative non-fiction has a place. Like non-fiction has a place in the world. Like absolutely, like we can't do without it. essays have changed my life. Like people's stories have changed my life. So sometimes
Amanda's notes on grief.
exactly it was like absolutely moving. It like properly tore my heart. Like I could feel her grief as I was reading that. So I could obviously know the place of nonfiction, right? And so I'm trying to get into like writing a bit more like about my life personally, like bits of my life that I'm happy to share. But I'm still like a fiction girly at heart.
Fiction
Making things up.
girly.
Wonderful stuff.
So yeah, back to MFA. I know it's okay. You talked about a lot of rejection, but what was the whole journey of like getting the acceptance, and what did the acceptance entail? Was it like a full ride?
So usually, for writers, particularly like writers who are something that has always like as a person has never been a writer, like the path or like a possible path was to that MFA in creative writing, where for 2 to 3 years you are in your writing program, and it almost feels like they're paying you to write, particularly if it's a fully funded program. So most times you get full funding. It's like an intimate program where you basically like learn more about writing, and you work on your writing as well. And at the end of the program, you're supposed to finish like your body of work, which is like quote unquote your final year project, like in Nigerian terms. And so that's what it is. It's basically an opportunity for writers to be better writers. And like most times, if you get full funding, it takes all the burden of like having to figure out finances and write at the same time, and it just gives you time to actually focus on your work and have like proper feedback and have like a community that is uplifting and upholding you as you write. So that really is what like an MFA program is. Like that's vaguely, obviously there are more details, and I mean depending on what you want, you look into and like you research. So for me, I'd always thought that I wanted to do a master's. As soon as I've given everybody law, I want to do masters that I think like I want for myself, and I'm in creative writing made a lot of sense too. Because of how things had been, I did not start applying until 2022. As 2022 was when I did my first round of applications. I was applying to schools in the US because there are more schools in the US that offer full funding. Everybody always advises that if you're doing an MFA in creative writing, it helps to have full funding. And so that's what I was looking at, and I had figured out what schools I wanted to go to, and I had applied. I gone through a very tedious application process because I was struggling to write, and part of the application is a body of work that should be like 15 to 30 pages. So it was at least
Like a chapter.
and so if you had a novel, it would be like 3 chapters of your novel. But if you're like, I've been writing short stories, so that meant like 2 to 3 short stories, or like 1 or 2 really long stories. I know it kicked my ass. The application process kicked my ass. I finally got it done, and I was confident. 2023 came. I was like, I'm not here for much longer. September, August, it will be. Happy to announce that it did not be.
He did not be.
I experienced like the worst round of rejection I've ever seen in that 2022. I think I applied to 5 to 6 schools, and I got rejected from every single one. One school didn't even like send a rejection. I just opened the portal and I saw not accepted. So it was very. I know all of this was leading up to my birthday. Rejection started coming in like February into March. I had a party. I was planning a party. I was like, let me do a party now. So I cried as I was planning that party. But yeah, it was really, really tough. It was so tough because thinking about being rejected from the writing program, it feels like they're rejecting you as a writer.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not personalize it, and so that really, really took a toll on me. I'm okay. I'm going to pick up like myself again and apply to like a school in the UK. This is like the one school that I was happy to go to because they had options for funding, but it wasn't guaranteed and it was limited. So I applied there, and they had like a really long waiting process. I think I applied in like maybe April. I would hear feedback that I had an interview in July. So I basically had like May, June, just a lot of waiting. Like I waited so much. That interview, I'd get in, but I wouldn't get the funding that I hoped for. And it just felt like another round of almost but not there.
Yeah.
And I kept guessing that way. It felt like I'm so close, but yet
so far away. So close, so far away.
And it was very tough. It defeated me, I'm even like, and I cried a lot last year because it just felt like this is the one thing that I think that I really want to do, or like I know that I really want to do. This is one time where I feel like I'm putting a desire of mine and I'm actively fighting for it. So like, why is it not clicking? And so come around September, October, application season started again. That was 2023. I was just like, man, I don't know that I want to put myself through like this micro of rejections, but it's like I can't give up on the life that I've hoped for. I need to think about this thing carefully, and like think about why I'm applying, think about what schools are. So like I redid my research, and then I applied to different schools because now like I still figured out what I wanted from my writing program, and so my options had sort of changed. And so I did that. I feel like my application process this year, I mean, I tried, but at the same time there was also a piece of acceptance. Like if it happens, it happens. I didn't rewrite my body of work. I used the same one for my last round of applications. I just did like editing, got like proper feedback, and then I applied. And then this year the rejections started coming in again. But this time I was already having a hard year. My dog had died. Like I was just like, yeah, okay, thank you very much for that. And so mind you, like you hear back from like February to March, and so that February, March, I'll open Twitter because I'm right at Twitter now. I'm so happy to announce that I've been accepted into, and I'm like, then I applied to this school. And so I'm not going to check my email. Like, okay, they rejected me. Yeah. So, like, I was just like, it was just that thing where I'd see people, like, get into school. And I'm just like, okay, all right. So I know that one is okay. And then the school there was one school, one of my top choices, University of Houston. Like, I remember thinking, this is a fantastic program. I loved the application process. And then I even loved, like, the program itself. But those ones had, like, a really late feedback time. They wouldn't get back until April. So by this time, like, people have started even raising funds to travel for like their own programs. People are like getting into school and stuff. And then in April, I'd get a waitlist email from the University of Houston to see how like I was on the waitlist. It was a really kind, really sweet email. And it sort of brought some hope to me. But at the same time, I was like, this is feeling like almost like, but
You didn't want to.
like, yeah, like it's like almost, but still not there yet. And like I was torn between keeping my hopes up and being like, let me just see it. But I'm like, I'm going to keep my hopes up. I really am. And I'm happy to announce that like I did get into school. It's a fully funded. Yeah, it's actually full funding. Fantastic full funding.
Amazing.
It's a program that like I genuinely can't see myself in, and even so far, all my interactions with them has been wonderful. So I'm very grateful.
I'm so happy.
Happened. Exactly. I didn't find thing like I wasn't going to apply. I would not have applied to this school like 2 years ago. It was not on my list, and like and now I realize why this like makes sense as the program to go to. And even how everything has happened, everything that has led up from that acceptance up until like my move, God, like so much ease.
God has been faithful.
Yeah, exactly. God has been faithful. It legit feels like the year when I made the decision that I wasn't going to go to law school. The amount of ease that I felt then, there's that about the decision. Obviously, I'm scared and like there's like all this like, oh my God, please. So obviously, I'm terrified and like I'm doing everything that I know and all of that. But the horizon of possibility or like possibility
so
exactly, it's just like I can so
I'm so happy. Look at us. Let me follow our dreams. I didn't work it out.
I know I mean, look at you girls, look at us.
Follow your dreams.
Yeah, fight for the life that you want.
Fight for the life that you want. That is the thing.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
I can't even tell anybody like, oh yeah, sure, no, like it has taken a lot from me as a person, and like I have not had like the easiest years, and there are many times when it just feels like nothing is working out, and something I was going to even point out was obviously when you don't go to law school, you still have friends that went to law school. Like all you have your contemporaries who go to law school. You watch them get called to bar, like you watch them like start their professional careers and whatever. And sometimes there's like a part of me that just felt like, particularly when you have like a higi haga path, you're like, I could have just
actually. I'm so sorry, I cannot relate. I never felt 1 ounce of this could be me.
It was never like this could be me. I never saw myself in like a law firm or whatever. It was just the like sometimes the stability of a clear path, like where like like your path looks like XXX. Okay, you get into
this after this after
this. Yeah, what I would say like I ever like thought about sometimes was the stability or the certainty of having like a path like that. Not that which law firm? Don't worry, I never want to do that.
It's time for our conversation cards. Okay, on our first.
Okay. What was your first impression of me?
I thought you were adorable.
Yeah, I was like, hey, this baby's a cool babe. I like your styles. Yeah, I feel like I had come across your photography as well, so I was like,
It seemed like a lot of people knew about photography, but they were not booking me.
And the thing is, really,
We could not afford it.
exactly. But yeah, I thought you were like really creative, full funky.
Thanks. Next up, what have been the highlights and the lowlights of the past year for you?
Let's see. Highlights. Definitely getting into school. And just like watching things that I thought were impossible become possible. It's definitely been like amazing to see, and then the love and support I've gotten from like my friends and family with this mode. Low lights, low points. My dog died.
Rest in peace, Major.
Yeah, my mage, and it wasn't like an easy thing to deal with at all. Well, in some ways, living in Lagos, I'm happy to be leaving, but at the same time, it's like I'm leaving everything that I can do, and I built like a life. I loved like living alone and stuff. I know that, and then living alone in Lagos, I loved it. So, yeah.
You know the thing I did? Highlights and lowlights. It's not funny, I cannot think of lowlights.
Yeah, come on.
Not because there are no lowlights.
Come on.
Not because there are no lowlights, but I started this thing in my journal. I realized that when I used to journal, I would journal only about the bad things.
Yeah.
So I started writing, like journaling about the good things in detail. And I also have this page at the back of my journal called my Jesus EA Miracles. And, yeah, so I think of the highlights now more than the lowlights.
Yeah, that's amazing.
For the past few months, a lot of things have been working out well. I mean, there are a lot of rejections in between, but I feel like now it doesn't matter. So, I mean, highlights, moving, new opportunities, lowlights. Does not matter, Jerry.
What's currently keeping you up at night or causing you stress?
You know, this is funny because I didn't sleep last night. I think it's not causing me stress, but what is keeping me up in a way is finding a way to like build my platforms, because it's become more priority to me to work on this community I'm building with Mejua and the videos I'm creating and the content I'm putting out. So I think that's what has been keeping me up.
I think for me, I just like moving countries.
That's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've been thinking about that. It's kept me up quite more. Yeah, just like that whole process.
If you could instantly attain 3 skills, what would they be?
Like, I wish I could be really good with numbers in a way that like it would result in to bastard money. Yeah, like that kind of, oh yeah, this is what you should do. Yeah, that one, I definitely would love that. I'd like to be able to make clothes, like just not have to worry about what's on my baths. Let me just sit down and then, yeah. And then the third one, like be fantastic at fitness this skill. Maybe be
What is fantastic?
but be just like be a very disciplined workout person.
I think the funny thing about that is that I've been thinking about that lately. I want to cancel my gym subscription. I'm tired of it. I don't like the gym anymore. I've decided that I want to pursue a sport. A sport, maybe, and Pilates.
Okay.
Because that is boring. The only thing that allows me like go in the gym and maybe slightly enjoy the workouts when I'm listening to I said what I said and I'm laughing. But I don't like the gym.
I see what you mean. So I think that's the thing for me. Just like I'll just come and say, oh, I want to do XXX, like some very like interesting activity. That's like a physical activity. Like I wouldn't struggle. You know, like I'll just go and like tennis, let's go. Oh, this one, let's go. Like just be like an insane. I'm fantastic at
That okay. I think for me, you know, they may seem simple, but I've struggled. Number 1, driving. I've been to 2 driving schools. I still don't drive.
My darling.
Number 2, swimming.
Come on.
I paid for swimming class. I went on vacation. I did not enter the pool because it was too deep. I don't know how to float.
Yeah, cool.
And the third one, if it's gymnastics, if it's anything running, but like good enough Olympics, good.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah, I think we're aligned
on that. Yes.
Tell me something you believed as a child that makes you laugh now.
What?
Something you believed as a child that makes you laugh now.
I was a very reasonable child. Thank you. I don't have anything.
I like doing all those like really interesting. Oh no, my mom had this game that we used to play with pear ube. So like when you finish taking ube, there's like a seed inside. And so the idea was like if somebody called your name 3 times and you said 3 times, the third time they'll throw the thing on the wall and like it means that your head has broken. So like my mom would play that game with us, right? And of course we were obliged to answer her because you remember that I was calling you. And so she one time we're playing and she literally like called my name there. After like the way she threw it, the way the thing because like my head has broken. Yeah, like I cried. I was like, oh my god, no, you broke my head. Well,
Oh,
I
I
mean,
was thank
it's
God
so
for your hair.
it's so ridiculous now that I think about it.
Oh goodness. What did your past relationships teach you about love and partnership?
You see? Oh no, I'm joking.
What have you gone through?
All right. What did my partnerships teach me about love and partnership? I think that like let Jesus be at the center. Really, more than anything, like choosing the people that choose you, like in the way that they've chosen you. The love that you want is like out there for you. Like you never have to settle or be less.
Yeah.
Like you're never too full. You're never too much. Like the love will be right, and like kindness will buy everything. Like the love that is kind, love that is.
Do you just have this quote sitting
No.
down? You're just saying it. Love
Love that is kind, and the love that like comes with ease. Like yeah, these are things that like I've picked up on my past relationships. Like don't lose yourself.
Yes, it's lovely. I'm married.
Yeah. Wow. See, my mom had the. She's my mom at the marital altar.
At the marital altar.
The
What I
marital
want.
altar, she.
You know, I am vast
Like
in
she's very
skill.
fast, like very experienced.
So you can take one or twos from here.
Exactly. Please take a pen, jot it.
Yes.
Quickly.
I will say that if you love somebody, you let them go.
Come on.
It's when you let them go that you really know what you know. I think don't be scared to don't be scared when someone leaves you,
Yeah.
thinking that you will find someone better out there. There is an abundance of love. So last one. Is it you or me?
I think you, because I answered first, it was you.
Okay, so last one for you.
If you could pick 1 year of your life to do over, which year would you pick?
None. All horrible. I don't think there's a year that I've experienced that I've not cried for like 6 months straight. Actually, maybe this year I did not cry that much. But this year I can't choose this year. I can't choose any of my lag years.
What different?
Horrid. Maybe my first year of A-levels, I was so... Yeah, my first year of A-levels, I say was one of like the most exciting, best years.
I feel like we have like similar, because I was going to say the year I turned 16, which is just like I had just finished uni.
Exactly.
Secondary school. That year, like, it just felt so full of promise and possibility.
Yeah,
like,
the naivete.
Yeah, exactly. Naivete.
So sweet.
You know, like youthful exuberance, life just making sense, and like the joy in the like mundane. Everything was exciting to me.
It was so exciting. It was like...
I was very hopeful. But yeah, I don't want to go back.
I don't want to. I can't relieve anything.
For whatever.
Over the past 10 years, what has been your biggest blessing in disguise?
My biggest blessing in disguise. Honestly, I would say my relationship with God, and like how early I was introduced to God, and like the idea of having a relationship with Him. God, faith has carried me in so many ways, and I'm so thankful.
That's so beautiful. I think mine is 10 years ago I was 16. So I think my biggest blessing in disguise is the journey. Like looking back 10 years, the journey was not easy. It has not been easy. Is it worth it? I feel like it could have been easier, but it has taught me so much resilience, and it has encouraged me to go after every single thing I want. And yeah, that is the biggest blessing. So we've come to the end of this wonderful episode.
You have?
Yes, we have. It's quite sadly we could have
I can't
continued.
believe this baby's taking me out, man.
Who's kicking you out?
You don't know. You said it's the end of the episode, so that's why I'm being going.
We're going together.
But even though, like, I'm gonna go off like your camera, like I won't be here anymore. But I'll be back.
She'll be back.
I'll be back.
Hopefully with her body of work. Maybe the next time I'm interviewing you, we have something published.
Actually, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Ooh, author. Anyway, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you guys.
See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.